stories will thrive. Welcome to a new video by the Blue Tongues of Hell for some more Hildar Chronicles. This chapter is called Bed of Worms. Gunnar was nowhere to be found, and whenever he was unavailable to assist the Queen, Eleonora had a few other options up her sleeve. These dedicated men would eventually join her when the king was looking the other way, and one of them was a young man with copper long hair named Toki. He was unashamed to claim that he was unfit for the crudities of battle, and he made up for that flaw by being a far more skilled royal guard. That way, he never had to leave the castle and could always protect the Queen and King at all costs. Mostly his self-esteem. Toki didn't dislike the Queen, but he did intend on getting his silver's worth from his dealings with her. Unfortunately for Eleonora, she was totally unaware of how much she had been paying him. But instead of gold, Toki's primary interest was information. Anything he could get his teeth on to send back to Muspelheim. He felt he was just one falcon away from sending the most vital news that would allow him to terminate this tiresome mission. That's all he needed. One more decisive tidbit to tip the island's scale. He had been useful to Muspelheim so far. King Radgrid was well aware of Prince Asmund's return home, and of the strange prisoner he had brought with him. He also knew of Ogni's reckless hunting trips into the woods alone, which would prove to be fatal if Toki could send a falcon in time to inform Muspelheim of a specific day. Today was the day. First, he had to get rid of Queen Eleonora, who'd asked him to take her riding. He reminded her that he wasn't a brilliant rider and wouldn't be able to do his duty if on horseback. Eleonora reminded him that his duty lay elsewhere. Perhaps in the coastal caves this time. Irritated by her constant requests, he blurted out the importance of staying within the castle walls in case King Radgrid returned. Toki hadn't even noticed his slip of the tongue, and thought Eleonora's reddening face was due to the conversation that wasn't going her way. Queen Eleonora? What are you doing here? Asked Hilda as she entered the royal horse barn with her brother. An acrid odour of moist hay struck their nostrils, although Hilda almost found the smell of ammonia pleasant. Her horse snorted and tapped the floor with a front hoof, eager to get some exercise and probably to get closer to the woods. The flustered queen bid farewell to the guard, with whom she had been having an intense discussion. She adjusted her horse's saddle and pretended not to care about the man's awkward departure. He was from Muspelheim, but she couldn't say a word. He had been around her for too long for anyone to believe she didn't know he was a spy. "Won't you call me Modir once and for all?" said the queen. She knew it wasn't easy for them to accept their father's second wife after the passing of their biological mother, but she didn't really mind. It had become a habit of pretending to be offended by their lack of empathy. "If it makes you happy, Modir," said Hilda with a sigh. "So what brings you to the stables at such an early hour? Did one of your guards forget the hunting list for tomorrow's feast? Or did Vadir forget his bow and arrow again? We could all go and help him actually hunt something this time." Eleonora huffed. "Your Vadir prefers to hunt alone. I simply thought it would be nice to join you on your trip to the woods. Agni mentioned you were going to fetch the witch. The treat of your travels, I meant, and I suggested it would be wise to have a third opinion on the matter. We know very little about this woman from across the seas of ice, and I want to see her for myself before letting her into our home."
"Come if you like, Queen Eleonora. I mean, Modir. But don't expect anything else to happen than her coming home with us,"
said Asmund firmly.
The king agreed.
"The king says a lot of things, and little really happens. I haven't seen the Death Hammer or the Fiery Belt yet. Have you? If Agni's words were lore, then the island would be ours again tomorrow, and we wouldn't be treading on eggshells in our own woods and meadows."
And from clouds of honey would rain golden ale,
added Asmund pontifically, "and our battle cries would cause the stars to fall," said Hilda, hopping onto her Freyr.
"And the night would be studded with our legendary feats,"
laughed Asmund.
"Come on, let's not waste time."
"I see the apple hasn't fallen far from Idun's tree," replied Eleonora, smiling at her two stepchildren. "You won't talk me out of it. I'm coming with you."
"The more, the merrier,"
said Asmund. "Until we bury her," said Hilda with a childish grin. Eleonora rewarded her with a punk in the ribs as she trotted out of the stables. The two siblings raised their eyebrows and smirked. "This is a first."
"So would be falling off your horse and breaking your neck."
Let's not speak out loud our deepest desires just yet, Brodir.
As you wish, sister. Giddy up.
When the three riders entered Nebelwood, Asmund felt a pang of guilt. The woodland prison was completely covered in snow. The tunnel he had dug to get out was gone, and he feared the worst. "Where is it?" asked the queen, leading her horse by the bridle. Asmund didn't reply, and quickly dismounted to start burrowing his way down to the prison gate. Hilda tied Freya's reins to a branch sticking out of the snow and took a swig from her leather pouch while casually checking in the woods for any signs of life. "You sure it's down there, Brodir? A good way to warm up, but we wouldn't want you to excavate the entire woods." Her brother ignored her too and shuffled his way under the snow with his scabbard. The short time he had spent here had chiseled in his brain every aspect of this hillside, and he had no doubt at all to where he was digging. Hilda heard a muffled cry of joy from underground, but shortly afterwards a yell of befuddlement. "What now?" she thought, and hurried down the tunnel. The gate was unlocked.
She's gone, sister. I don't know how, but she's gone.
"Did you forget to lock the gate, Brodir? She can't be far. Although after that blizzard, I don't believe she..."
I locked it. We argued about it. Someone must have helped her. But there are only 2 keys to this prison,"
said Asmund, crouching beside the dead fire, testing the ashes' heat with his fingers. "There were 3, said Eleanor, tapping her long coat to shake off the snow. "One was lost in the bay, so I am told." "That's correct, my dear. Only 2 keys exist now," said Hilda, clinking her old key against the rusty iron bars. "Unless a mermaid fetched one from the seabed and gave it to a sailor she seduced. Unless the key was stolen," said Eleanor. "If there were spies in our household, it wouldn't be too far-fetched to imagine petty thieves." Asmund violently flung a jarred lock at the wall and left the cave. "I'd better follow him. He's bewitched, the poor lad," said Eleanor. "Are you coming?" "First, I will look for clues. Then I will meet you back at the castle." "You sound like a gunner. Take care, Dottir." Hilda waited for Eleanor to climb up the snow tunnel. When the sound of horses neighing and plodding through the snow faded, she frowned at the wall where Asmund had smashed the burnt log. She couldn't believe her eyes. Runes had recently been added. "What in the hell have you done, my darling?" She rubbed at the black smears with her sleeve and deciphered a symbolic first quarter moon over a flat line, referring to the plains where they would usually meet. Hilda was devastated. 7 days to wait for him to explain his perfidy. Queen Eleonora found Asmund on the outskirts of the forest, staring into the pale distance. His head was low, and the pristine blanket of snow over the meadows in front of him offered no hope of following Yoko's footprints. She must have perished. If she made it this far, Asmund, and survived a few days with us, I'm sure she made it through the storm. She'll lie low for a while, take time to miss you, and when spring has made the pines cry, she'll poke her head out of a rabbit hole.
But where did she go?
Said Asmund glumly. Vanaheim is a large island with plenty of places to hide. She can't be far, and we know she hasn't tried swimming back east.
That's my point. My gut tells me she's done the opposite.
He said, nodding towards the Nibelungen Mountains. Let's hope not, replied Eleonora, placing a comforting hand on Asmund's shoulder. Icy tongues of wind licked every nook and cranny of the jagged rocks, coating the black slopes of the Nibelungen peaks. A golden eagle shrieked as it launched off a protruding slate formation that was beginning to crack. A great chunk of rock detached itself from the mountainside and tumbled into the gorge below, smashing through dead pine trees clinging to the cliffs. As rubble tailed off the falling rock, something desperately flapped its wings, trapped in a narrow slit in the slate ravine. Its frantic movements were slowing down. The black and yellow striped thorax of the beast was wedged in what seemed to be a cave entrance. It hissed and growled, thrashing its spiny tail, only to cause the gashes all over its scaly body to bleed even more. Beyond the crack in the cliff face, a chasm of darkness echoed back its immensity. After hours of struggle, the dragon admitted defeat. Getting stuck in a hole was quite the humiliation for one who claimed to see more than others. With one eye, this famished dragon, usually referred to as an oracle, had not foreseen this ridiculous fate. That wretch! Why didn't I see the danger? If I can't trust the visions, then we are lost. The salamander-colored dragon shook its white mane one last time and passed out. Its leathery skin wilted, and the bulk of powerful muscles shriveled to the grey corpse of an elderly woman who fell to the slate floor. Out of the dripping, hallowed darkness came an iron glove that dragged the body away. In Helheim, the Gothi priests had slept well. They had also eaten and drunk away the sins of all villagers for generations to come. Until the next full moon, of course. While the priests sang their morning praise to money and soul into pails of vomit, Edil sneaked into his quarters with Kyoko. He lit a fire and found suitable clothing for both of them. When Kyoko was finally resting in Edil's wooden bed, ornamented with his family's white dragon's coat of arms, a tall girl barged in, knocking the oak door against Edil's elbow. "Astrid," Edil whispered, rubbing his arm. "Please, let yourself in." His younger cousin was used to dropping by unannounced, and this morning was no exception. "Skiving off the Gothi parade again, eh? See, you've had your fun," said Astrid with a sly grin, flipping long blonde braids over her shoulder. "Who the sheep's piss is this one?" "Shh, nobody, Astrid. Keep your voice down, would you? Been a long night, and I need to rest." "Oh, I bet it was. I bet it was indeed. We had a long night too, you know. I don't know why your father doesn't behead a lot of them. I know Modir almost lost it when one of the Gothi commented on her drinking."
Astrid does like to enjoy herself.
"She can enjoy herself all she bloody likes. Those hollow hypocrites cracked open a 60-year-old hogshead. If I hear another sanctimonious word of wisdom from those languid lobsters, I'll scream."
Or worse, probably.
"Please, Astrid. Lovely to see you with the crack of dawn. But really, I need to." "She isn't dead, is she?" said Astrid, spilling her drink as she pushed her way past Edil to get a closer look at the woman in his bed. "Holy pig's bladder! You didn't mate with the Huldra, did you? What the snot is she?" Edil didn't have time to shush his cousin, and Kyoko sprang out of bed and ran to Edil's side. "Mushy maggots, she's lively. Never seen someone get out of bed in such haste. I mean, not from anyone else's bed."
It's all right, Kyoko. This is my callous cousin, Astrid. She thinks you're a Huldra.
"A Valheim spy, maybe. Not a very good one, though. Can't exactly blend in, can she? Does she have a tongue?" "I have yet to taste anything better than burnt rabbit, if that's what you mean," replied Kyoko, which made Astrid burst out with laughter.
Maybe give that Aurochs horn the rest, cousin. We need to wait until the Gothi worm their way back to Moonstone Hills.
So seal your lips, said Hedil, scratching his head. Or just talk about something else if you don't mind. Did I make myself clear? Oh, crystal clear, cousin. As clear as the brain of a clobbered corpse. Or the missing one of some sorry sod. Astrid pinched Hedil and Kyoko's cheeks and gave their face a shake. Just give me a heads up if you think she'll turn into a snake. Can't stand snakes.
Or rags. See you later, Astrid,
said Hedil, pushing her out of his room. I'm counting on you, he said, kissing her forehead. Astrid winked back, softly stroked his chin, and wavered off to find someone else to torment. Hilda needed to be alone, since she had found evidence of Hedil breaking Kyoko out of prison. Her mind was ablaze. She strolled along Katiogil stream, where Sune had saved her so many moons ago, and brushed through the weeping blossom of willow trees, touching the crystal water flow. How could you do this to me? What did you think would happen, you fool? Hilda was half hoping to find Sune, sitting on the ledge over Owl Talon Rocks. But instead, she came across a woman with long blonde hair, peering into slivers of sunlight, dancing over watery curves of the pebble stream. Daughter of Skeggold, I don't believe we've officially met. Hilda was in a delirious and furious mood, and drew her blade in a rush of anger. I don't know you, and I don't want to speak to you. Go away. I didn't mean to upset you, Hilda. We have already met, but you could probably guess why you don't remember. Annoyed as she was, Hilda couldn't help remembering a blonde woman of similar stature around her father many seasons ago. Are you an acquaintance of my Fadir? You could say that, and much more, I'm afraid. My name is Gould, said the woman from the other side of the stream. She stepped into the water, barefooted, and played with the willow branches, swaying all around her. What are you doing? Are you mad? Said Hilda, sheathing her dagger. Or are you one of them? Are you referring to the people you're attempting to exploit for your own pleasure? I wouldn't say pleasure. I merely seek to defend Vanaheim's interests in the most effective way possible. And the Huldra have been most useful. Ogni would love to hear about your particular dedication to war and family values. Fadir knows about your kind. I wouldn't go so far as to say he knows all about us, but I will say that he knows me very well. What do you want? Said Hilda harshly, looking away. I wanted to meet you, I should have spoken earlier, years ago. Your mother would have wanted me to. How could you know about Modir? Oh, right. Tell me what the faithful king told you. I didn't come here to tell you about Skeggold, although her sacrifice still burns in my heart. And if you cared so much, why didn't you mystify us? Mystify? I like the ring to that. Well, you see, death is a part of the natural order of life. And some sad events happen for a reason. The Huldra must also follow orders. And bringing Skeggold back was not in the Order's interest. Hilda stared back with rage in watery eyes. Skuld knew she had to be quick and didn't have time to revisit the shocking history of Huldra infiltration. Hilda, we will speak another day about your mother and my late dear friend. When the time comes, I will tell you all you need to know. However, revelations are a bed of worms. The more you keep secrets, the more they squirm and corrupt. Today I have one secret that's been digging holes in my heart of soil for too long. It's the worst thing I'd wish to share with you. But I must, while Voluspa is missing. Voluspa? Where did she go? That's the principle of someone going missing, Hilda. We don't know. Anyhow, in the light of my sister's condition, and the disease that is spreading through both our worlds, I need to tell you this. Skuld related the nature of her relationship with Hilda's father, and how the natural course of nature produced a child. The king would never have asked his wife to accept the blonde boy into their family, and he let Skuld decide his fate. The Huldra had no tolerance for Skuld's transgressions either, and she knew she had to get rid of her baby. From listening to hunters who hadn't seen her hiding in the woods, Skuld knew of a couple from Moon Castle who were unable to have children. When the man returned to his horse from a fruitless hunt, he found a beautiful boy with golden hair, wrapped in a garment of moss and leaves. A golden opportunity to be accepted open arms into the royal family. Blood trickled from Hilda's mouth after biting through her tongue. King Jarl and Queen Asgard accepted the gift and became the loving parents of a sharp kid who now has grown up so fast. That's enough. Oh, but I've watched over him, and you, my dear Hilda, for so long, and I will not let this madness continue. Not a word more. You've noticed changes, haven't you? Every full moon, the scars. It isn't too late. You need to keep away from the wells. Forget the water. stay far away from my son. Don't say his name. Why not? A girl as curious as you. Surely you'd want to know who you've really been mating with all these years. And how many times has Hedil eaten your babies? No. Hilda whimpered, and she dived into the muddy clear waters. She could hear the blue flames clouding her mind with venomous whispers, and she saw Rasa pull out her dagger. Hilda slapped a hand over Skuld's suddenly familiar face and slit her throat. Skuld splashed to her knees and stared up endearingly. It's all right, Hilda. We're even now. Send my love to free you. Treat him well. And take care of your body. She spluttered, stroking Hilda's belly before floating away down the stream towards the falls. Hilda reached into the clear water and thumped the surface with her fist, still clenching the bloody dagger. She let out a hellish scream and waded mournfully towards the waterfall. Mushrooms of hazy vapors blossomed in front of a long, glossy sheet of water draped over polished rocks. Cushioned by the gushing cascade, passerines sang a vernal imminence, while preying on the insects below, tricked into hatching from an early burst of heat. Fragmented rainbow lights sparkled as droplets sprinkled over Hilda's face at the foot of Owl Talon Falls. Her cracked skull dribbled cranial fluid into the foamy water, and she glared lifelessly at the sun soaking through the willow catkins. See you soon for the next chapter of the Hilda Chronicles.